when we are talking about weddings today, no one is concerned about what's going on
in the bride's mind. There are still a large number of women in India who are getting married who don't know what they are getting into. Toughest thing that a woman really has to go to, because she has to accommodate a lot of people, a lot of egos, right? You cannot cut out the in-laws. They are a big part of your marriage.
Right. There are reports which states that the divorce rates are continuously increasing.
Yes. One of the reasons why you see failed marriages is also the transition is not facilitated. This is also a conversation which is so difficult for a couple to have. I have seen couples fight for the tiniest and the most minuscule things. Right, like the color of the napkin at their wedding, some decor flower color gone wrong. We really do not have a bridal community per se in India, which is what I'm trying to build.
The business that you are in right now is the base of changing the mindset.
I would call it disruption.
Today at Satyamanthan, we are unveiling an industry that is the most talked about in India. Yes, we are going to dive deep into an industry that is aspiring, that is full of dreams for a lot of Indian youngsters. We are going to talk about the Indian wedding industry in this episode of Satyamanthan. And in this episode, as a guest, we have with us someone who has styled more than 200 brides. And with styling brides, also, she has dived deep into the wedding industry where she wants to unearth, she wants to talk unfiltered about what really goes in people's mind. It's not just about the wedding day, but somewhere it is a long journey of living a married life. So welcome on the show today, Ekta Shah, who has been not only a stylist to n number of brides in India, but today she has her own venture where she wants to help brides take a new journey in their life. We'll listen more from Ekta today. Welcome to the show, Ekta.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for having me here. I am thrilled to be on Satyamanthan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for trying to add more value to the session, because through this podcast, I'm sure we are going to uncover a lot of things that normally Indian traditions don't talk about.
Oh, absolutely. I'm certain.
Yeah, because wedding industry in India is a very big market, right? Currently, it's at $150 billion and soon it's projected to reach to $238 billion by 2030. But then a lot of things that are not being said or are not being done when it comes to wedding, right? So we would like to definitely talk more about that through this podcast.
Absolutely.
I hope you're open to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much for being here, Ekta. The first thing that I would like to dive deep into is because सबको पता है wedding market बहुत बड़ा है. Everyone wants to sell aspirations. They want to sell their dreams when it comes to marriage. सबकी dreams है. Dream weddings create हो रही हैं इंडिया में, right? Destination weddings हो रही हैं. Pre-photo shoots हो रहे हैं. A lot of things have changed, right? But then still that sacred ceremony of being married. Is it just about the wedding day या कुछ और भी बहुत ज़्यादा होता है जिसके बारे में लोग बहुत ज़्यादा बात नहीं करते?
Absolutely, right? Like you said, I mean, I want to quote that it is a $150 billion industry. But I think from what's available in the market, I see a very big gap between just the wedding space and the marital space. That is what we are actually deep diving into today. So for me, it's all about the brides and not so much about the D-Day, but her marital journey.
That's right. So you just said कि it's all about a marital journey, right? तो marital journey होती क्या है? Like, how do we define it? Because most of the times people are like, okay, ठीक है, पहले before marriage there is this engagement, right? Or roka or whatever you say in different rituals, right? तो ये सब होने के बाद then the marriage day comes, there's wedding happening, right? So many things happening, right? And then suddenly of a turn you see a change happening when it comes to whether it be bride or groom, both the sides I believe are equally changing their lives after one particular day, right? So what is it that goes deep when it comes to entering into a married life? Like, that normally कोई भी बात ही नहीं कर रहा है यार उस बारे में. मतलब most of the times people are only talking about, hey, how was your wedding? What would be the food? What would be the menu? What you're wearing, right? तो इन सब चीज़ों के बारे में ही बात होती है. But then उसके आगे और क्या है?
Exactly. So just like you said, कि अगर आप engagement कर रहे हो, so everything that is available in the market today for that bride is very surface level, so to say, right? कि आपकी शादी हो रही है, so you will be dropped in 1000 WhatsApp groups, because now we have the so-called bridezilla brides, who want to take on to everything. These very young millennial and Gen Z brides, who are in this market space, right, who are in this wedding industry space. That's the target audience that we are talking about. So everything that is available to them leads to the D-Day. What I mean by that is कि उनके लिए chooser shopping है, wedding planning है, you can go to finishing schools, okay, you can learn how to be a great host, all right, you can be a great master chef. There are so many culinary institutes where you can learn how to cook, etc. But what I have seen is that there is a big gap when it comes to taking forward your marital journey. Matlab, are you deep diving into or talking about issues that are not really spoken about? I'll just give you a gray instance before we even drop into it. Something like intimacy, something like communication in relationships, something like setting your boundaries, something like understanding where your extended families come into play in your marital journey. अब वो पहले जैसा नहीं है. We used to be in the joint family system at large before a few years, but now we are seeing that that trend is obviously changing, right? But the girl was aspiring to sort of go to a new house and be the good bahu, but now of course she is very aspirational with respect to her own independency. She wants to be at it, at par with her husband for finances, for all the decisions that are taken on that table, which was ideally patriarchal, right? So that I think is what we are going to deep dive into.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you for opening up on this issue, because what I feel is, like, especially with the current trends that have come in. Okay, like for example, I remember 10 years down the line when I got married. Okay,
Yeah.
the pre-wedding photo shoot was
The-
very new. Like,
Yes.
only the exclusives would love to do that,
Yes.
right? Okay, in our family, if we said pre-wedding shoot, they would have thrashed me like anything. Okay, there came in your celebration of pre-wedding festivities.
Yes.
Okay, now earlier wedding festivities started with the wedding rituals, and then it led to 3 day, but today it has become a good long 6-7 days ka fair, right? Then came in destination weddings. Okay, then if we see in India, thanks to the Ambani families or the families like this, who have raised the bar of, like, how weddings can actually be made into a very big event,
Yeah.
altogether. And I think somewhere are we building some false impressions to the future generation? That is, like, becoming my one concern when I see this industry as a large thing. Because although we are good at selling the aspirations of everyone when it comes to the wedding day or the wedding rituals, but at the same time, are we also crossing that line of where what marriage is,
Yeah.
and how we are actually performing that particular day, or, like, making the wedding happen, that terms.
I think I absolutely agree with you. As much as we say that whatever we see online, with respect to what we're seeing on social media, what is edible on Pinterest, etc., because these are, also the platforms that these brides look out to, right? They're very aspirational. Okay, not everybody is doing it, but they want to outdo them, right? You want to outdo your friends' weddings. You want to outdo, some. You want to bring some newness to your events, etc. But like we said, when we dive deeper into it, my concern is that what happens to the bride after she steps down the aisle. So is there, and is there a way that is there an outlet for her? Is there like a bridal circle, or are there some meaningful conversations that she can open into to talk about these things? Because I have also seen a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, in these brides to be, right, while they are curating their big fat weddings.
So, is it also adding as a pressure or anxiety during that marriage phase?
I think it absolutely is, right? You want people to talk about your wedding months after it's already done, right?
Ah.
Like, you threw an event, which was 100% out there, like a beach bash or this batch, or I mean, I'm not even going to deep dive into the type of events now that Gen Zs are really indulging into. But my whole focus is that as much as time, effort, money, resources that we are putting into creating that one wedding day, what about that journey that she's actually going to lead once she steps down that aisle?
So, when we're talking about the journey, okay, what should be that journey? How do you think we train brides for that? Like, because ideally, or maybe even the families, or maybe the spouses, I feel there is a big gap. What do you feel about it?
Absolutely, there is a big gap, and I feel that training would be a very, hard word.
Hard word.
Yeah, I wouldn't say training, but it's more about facilitating them to deep dive consciously into what they are getting into, understanding their partners, understanding their own independent goals, understanding goals together as couples. I think I don't see premarital counseling taking that kind of a stand maybe in the industry. So you spend as much time, energy, effort कि मैं ये लहंगा पहनूंगी, I aspire to do this, मैं I want this caterer to come into my wedding, etc. I understand all of that. And I've also seen, because I've seen trial room stories, and because I'm a stylist, right, I have seen couples fight for the tiniest and the most minuscule things, right? Like the color of the napkin at their wedding, some decor flower color gone wrong,
Okay.
right? And we're only human to error. That is going to happen. But that is so stressful for them that, couples end up fighting. They end up not resolving those at that point in time. And this is a very tiny space which is going to actually show you what your life is going to look like with your partner, right? How fast you're coming back, how fast you're resolving your issues together, how fast you're able to take on different challenges, and how fast you're able to communicate, right, with your partner. So I don't think those are things that are even spoken about.
Do you feel that now brides and grooms, they are becoming much more outspoken when it comes to, like, what I want and what I don't
Absolutely.
want?
Absolutely. Look, I got married 2 decades ago.
Right.
Okay, so yours is like 10
A
years.
decade
I
ago.
was like a decade even before that.
Yeah.
But so to say, I literally don't remember having a say at my wedding. My mom chose my outfits. My parents and my husband's family chose the venue. They chose the catering. So I just went there, sat on the mandap, got married, and that was it, and that was done, right?
Right.
But as I went on to my journey, and as we started evolving, I saw a grave difference into the challenges that I faced, right? Because we were taught to be very docile. We were taught to shrink to accommodate other people. I think that's one of the biggest and the toughest thing that a woman really has to go to, because she has to accommodate a lot of people, a lot of egos, right?
Right.
So I do see that, and while you said that the Gen Zs are more outgoing, of course they are, because they also have resources. There's more tech available, there's more information available. So yes, they do want their own things. You see the women today; they want to be financially independent. They want to find love for what it is, not just for safety, security, which actually us women, I mean, back in the day used to do, right? We used to get actually married for safety and security. While now she can, give that to herself. She's actually looking out to just, sort of invite a partner into her life where she can actually, celebrate what she's made, within her. Within her space, within her boundaries. So, yeah, I do think that they are outgoing. They definitely know, they have clarity. But I also feel that there's a channel which is not, it's not regularized. There are still a large number of women in India who are getting married, who don't know what they are getting into.
Hmm. Okay, so I'd like to move towards your venture side now, okay,
Yeah.
which is like all about retreats and bride retreats, yeah. So we've heard this phrase called "Here comes the bride" from you,
Yes.
right? Okay, would like to know more about it. How you stepped into this entrepreneurial journey of moving, or like with brides. Why with brides? Like, are there some personal experiences that led you to take this down?
Absolutely. So, obviously, my own challenges into my marital space.
Hmm.
Besides that, 2 decades of working with brides, knowing their trial room stories, knowing the same story that is repeated in every bride, the stress, the emotions that carry on with her transition. I created Here Comes the Bride, which is now India's first bridal retreat and an event IP. And this entire space is to give her those 2, 3 days to just let her hair down, connect with like minded women who are also on the same journey, and hear from industry experts as to what they have to say. So under Here Comes the Bride, we have a few buckets which are again IP'd, and they fall under different categories. Something as simple as an intimacy curator, intimacy wellness sessions, or a space where you can talk about fitness and finance goals together, a space where a law educationist comes into play, because we have so many different Indian marital law systems, obviously because of different cultural and community spaces. We have a crazy DIY, vision board setup, which helps these brides to also, manifest their goals. It's a lot of fun space, and we really do not have um, a bridal community per se in India, which is what I'm trying to build.
That's amazing to listen from you, because when it comes from the business point of view, right? I have been dealing with n number of businesses, and these businesses, they have been in event space, they've been in weddings, they've been in videography, photography, the support services, right? The venue space, for example, the hotels. I have seen how they work with this event management and all that stuff. Whenever I see these industries, I've seen them selling dreams to people.
Yeah.
Okay, right? These dreams, but somewhere what I feel is that these dreams, although they are dreams and aspirations, but they are all momentary. Like,
True.
because most of the businesses are not actually diving deep into befores and afters of that moment.
Yeah.
Right? For example, let's take a very small event, whether it be a naming ceremony of a new child, right? Okay, now you have an aspiration, you have a first child or something like that, you want to do what others are doing. Now, this, first of all, this aspiration is just being built out of social media, to be very
Absolutely.
honest today, right? Because what you see, you want to do that. So that aspiration, the root of that aspiration is coming from the media that we are seeing.
True.
Second thing is that we're not thinking about befores and afters of that momentary success or that momentary happiness that we or our family members are getting. Because sometimes I've literally seen, uh, to be honest, I've seen, like, for example, if you're taking this naming ceremony example, I've seen kids crying,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
because
It's more for the parents,
they are
anyways.
not comfortable with whatever is
Yes.
happening. They're too small.
Yeah.
Like to live that moment, right? So actually, you're living that moment for yourself in the name of your child,
Yeah.
right? The same way when I see weddings, when we are talking about weddings today, I see that most of the time, no one is concerned about what's going on
In the bride's mind. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Okay. The concern is how she's standing on the stage.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Whether she was dressed aptly or not,
Yeah.
whether he or she turned up on time or not, whether they served the buajis and the fufajis well or not.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So, somewhere I feel that although the industry is selling aspirations, which is their business, but at the same time, we are not tapping inside the mindset
Yeah.
of the people, or we're not giving them the lifetime of a memory that they need somewhere.
Absolutely.
I don't know how right that is, but then I have seen this as most of the events, that many events are there, like many event companies are there, and they come down and tell us that, like, this particular event, we have done this big event, we have done it at this scale, this happened, this is my client, that is my client. Somewhere results are beyond these two. What do you feel?
Absolutely. I do agree that, they are largely momentary, right? Having said that, with Here Comes the Bride, that is exactly the opposite of what we are trying to achieve here. While we are creating a bridal circle, we want these girls to have a space where they can make friends. Okay, while I know that a lot of brides do have their friends already, right? They have their girl squads who they go for bachelorette with, etc. But the idea of this space is to, network, sit with like-minded women, sit with mentors and, just guides who are going to help you not only through your D-Day, but also beyond. So our hand-holding is not only till the D-Day, we are giving them that retreat space actually to sit down, pause and reflect. And yeah, that's what we are aiming at.
Right. Don't you think your business as a business model is going opposite from the regular business model that event industries are in?
I don't think it is. I think it's actually facilitating it because, being a first mover advantage, I know how much it takes to be in that industry and also be a disruptor,
Okay.
right, of sorts. Because these retreats, you see, you do have wellness retreats, right? You do have yoga retreats,
Right.
right? You do have your indulgent Ayurveda retreats, etc. But my idea to do a bridal retreat is also to make an ecosystem out of the wedding industry because these are the same people that we are hosting the retreats with.
Right. So now that you have talked to so many brides, okay,
Yeah.
you have already styled so many of them. Now you're entering into this retreat space. You're helping them more dive deep.
Yeah.
Right. What is that one thing that you feel like, every bride has it in their mind, but then people around them are not, like, accepting that thing. What is that one thing that you feel that, like, every bride should not think about, but they're still thinking about the same thing?
So there are two things to this. Okay. A is I always tell my brides that, when they're shopping, right, like when they pick me on as a stylist to shop, I literally tell them that, this is not a project. Okay. That, I mean, as much as we like things carved out, my idea for you is to enjoy your shopping experience also. It's not about just making that day perfect. It's more about, enjoying that journey. That, oh, today I see that brides are so stressful. Oh, I have to go shop here, I have to do this trial, I'm so, done, and, I don't have time, and, me in my head, I'm thinking that, wow, she's getting an opportunity to try this outfit, try that designer, and, wear aspirational clothes. It should be happy, right? But when she's actually in the trial room, this is not fitting right, that is not good, and, this is not happening. And, it's all about, I think, just calming your nervous system to see that the way what you're doing right now is going to lead you into your marital space.
Right.
So that's one thing that I see in every bride, that the stress that they take about today is not going to matter after a few months. So why stress? Don't stress.
Right. So, like, I would now like to deep dive into more into these modern Indian marriages that are happening today,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, because somewhere before going to the business side, I feel that we need to talk about the root problem of what exactly is happening, because we are also seeing with marriages being constantly popularized or being in media, okay,
Yeah.
or being talked about in town and all that. uh, I have also seen that there are reports from time to time that have surfaced from our own country, which states that the divorce rates are continuously increasing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay, which states that most of the urban areas where all of these are so things are so popular, right, there we have seen a 50 to 60% increase in the divorce. Okay, that's are happening, and they are so quick, because like earlier, like, we had seen people getting divorced at least after 2 years, 3 years, and there were specifically deep down reasons where, okay, they decided that we cannot live
Yeah.
with each other, right?
Yeah.
Today, do you feel this decision is coming too quickly? Like, that, oh, I cannot live with this guy, right? Or I
Yeah.
cannot live with this girl. Because I have seen marriages being broken in the first month,
Absolutely.
right? I have heard of cases where marriages have broken after 15 years today,
Yeah.
because people are not hesitant breaking it now.
Yeah.
To them, divorce has become a
Easy
a
norm.
easy norm.
Yeah.
Like, कि ठीक है, नहीं करना है ना, just give it, no, finish it off.
Yeah.
You live your life, let me live my life.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, do you feel that this issue is becoming much more complex these days?
I honestly feel that nowadays the threshold to contain, peace, sacrifice, okay, compromise is very, very, by far very small in terms of what it used to be earlier in days. Also, I think one of the reasons is the modernization and the evolvement of how, the women are also evolving, right? Like earlier, I know that, we've seen our moms, they literally had, very simple roles: take care of the house, build on to, get the raw material which the husband is providing and actually convert it into homes, right?
Right.
That's what they used to do. The man used to provide for the food and she used to make a lovely meal out of it, right? uh, you know uh, I have not seen our parents fiddle on these, roles. Now, what is happening is that the roles are mixed, right? While the women are also, setting out, creating a marker for themselves in the world. They are very aspirational. They also want to do something meaningful in their life. I'm also seeing a set in of the Raja Beta syndrome. I don't know if you've heard about that, right? That. There are a lot of communities, in fact I wouldn't even say community but generalize it, to see that okay, there is a lot of load on the women when she's getting married per se, compared to the man who is getting married, right? Like I have seen brides telling me that his participation in the wedding planning is literally zero, and I'm doing everything, which eventually also translates into their wedding, right? Because she's doing everything. Now the guy is relaxed that, okay, she's taking care of everything.
Everything.
And, she is also burdening herself that, no, I want this picture perfect. I want it to happen in a certain way. It's also her aspirations, which I would not deny. And then the role of the in laws, not letting the child grow. I think I'm really very sorry to say it, but I think, and we are living in an Indian wedding system, right? So you cannot cut out the in-laws; they are a big part of your marriage.
Right. Right.
Yet,
Yeah. So definitely, when it comes to business, like, earlier, I would say with India or with Indian wedding market, right? Earlier, the decision makers were the parents,
absolutely,
right?
yes.
Today, the decision makers are the brides and the grooms.
Absolutely.
Right.
They are the decision makers. I would not say solely if they are still the spenders or, the ones who are doing the weddings on their own. So whether it's a young bride who's funding her own wedding, or whether it's a couple who's funding their own wedding, or, they're coming from an affluent family and the families are spending for it. But still, largely, the couple does have a large take in this, which is obviously stressing that woman out, because now she's taking every small, she's actually micromanaging even the wedding planner.
Right.
आप ऐसा करो, आप इसको, call करो. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that,
I
right?
have.
I have seen brides do that to me.
Yeah.
I'm the stylist. I know my job. It's not. I would tell her that, okay, you've given me the brief. Now let me do my work. But the micromanagement has come into play, because they want to be a part of everything. They want to be a part of that whole process.
So, is it good to be a micromanager, or like there needs to be a full stop somewhere?
I think honestly, they need to understand that if you're micromanaging everything, you are losing out on moments where you can actually spend some quality time or grow or evolve. See, if you're micromanaging, why are you hiring?
Right.
So, I mean, I feel the best brides that I've seen, okay, the ones who really shine out in their photographs, etc., are the ones who are absolutely carefree. very happy go lucky. पीछे जो हो रहा है मतलब बैंड बज रहा है, सॉन्ग आया नहीं आया, this happened, that happened, the fittings was like 1 inch here there. She is okay because she's in the moment. When you're micromanaging, you're not in the moment, for sure.
So I remember talking to this guy, like he's from the photography industry, and he's been one of my clients. Now, with everything working around well in his business, the major concern was the client satisfaction and the client journey that he used to take care of while photographing his clients, right? Now, the problem with him was just because of the client mismanagement, he was not able to continue the shoot or give the results in that particular frame of time. For example, if the shoot is of 2 hours, instead of 2 hours, it used to take 4 or 6 hours, double or 3 times the time required, right? The only thing that he wanted to fix was client management.
Absolutely.
He was like, I just want to relax my clients before the shoots because sometimes they're so anxious, they're so into it that, like, instead of taking one calm shot, we have to take 15 shots and then go for that last shot to make that perfect for them, right? So somewhere I feel that mismanagement should be lowered down. Yes, even I feel that. And somewhere I also feel that a lot of things are not being talked about yet.
Yes.
Even if they are modern partners, even if we are talking about the stories and everything, but still I feel that there is something uh, which is still not being talked about more.
Absolutely.
Right? When it comes to intimacy, when it comes to finances, because again, another thing with the new brides or the Gen Z brides is that most of them come with an earning capability.
Yeah.
Right? And when you have that capability right from the start in your life, somewhere, and you don't talk about it, but you end up into a marriage. Later, you realize that even after getting married and you're not talking about finances, and then suddenly you start talking about the finances only after you get married, right? Now, this thing really becomes very awkward for both of them, whether it be male or female. Now, the male thinks that now I am authorized to talk about finance, whereas female feels that why that authorization has come in.
Yeah.
Have you faced certain cases?
Absolutely. In a lot of my brides, in fact, my own personal journey was like this. I got married really naive, very young. I had no say in, the affluent patriarchal system that I got married into. Over the years, after my children, in fact, when I, let out on my own entrepreneurial journey, and while I was working with the brides as much, my family was still thinking that, okay, what is she going to make out of it? Let her just, it's like, how a lot of Indian parents say that, okay, wo time pass kar rahi hai, usko karne do, you just let her do it, but not really assisting or helping me actually build a business out of it, right? But while that started happening, and I progressed a little more, I started putting my ideas on the table, which were not very happily invited or taken on. I also see that a lot with the brides right now, that if they've not had a clear communication, right now you see both the couples earning probably at the same capacity, or whatever, 56, 60/40, whatever. If they're not talking about their financial goal plan, what they aspire to do in the next 5 years, 10 years, which can change obviously, but if they do not have a roadmap, it does lead to conflicts. It does lead to, certain voids, which later becomes very difficult to fill. That, okay, वो पहले तो नहीं बोलती थी, अब बोलती है, क्यों बोलती है? Things like these. So I feel that a little clarity now goes along a long way, and I feel that premarital counseling per se can really help in that aspect.
Right.
Right? And whether that's not only finance, I wouldn't really only say finance, but setting boundaries with your in-laws, understanding with your partner that, okay, how much involvement do we want with them in our marriage, in our day-to-day setup. Things about intimacy, if you're able to talk about your bedroom communication well, that this is what I'm seeking, this is, what I would want to try out. This is also a conversation which is so difficult for a couple to have.
Somewhere a lot of communication gap exists.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because when it comes to finances, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to family bondings, I feel a lot of things are not being talked about, but they are expected.
Yes, like, they are. Yes.
They are expected that ye mujhe samjhe kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
कि वो ये मुझे समझे इस कवर में हम बहुत सारी चीजें इंक्लूड कर देते हैं
Exactly.
कि लाइक यू नो ये मुझे इसमें भी समझे इसमें भी समझे
Yeah.
मेरी फैमिली को
You
भी
just want
समझे.
all of them to be
And
mind readers.
yeah. I mean, somewhere you want that person should know everything without you telling them everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Marriages will reveal the things that you wanted as in your childhood, like as your inner child story is really revealed in a marriage. And it takes a lot to be very conscious. It takes a lot to be curious. It takes a lot to understand, where you're going. We've seen these stories where, like you said, the divorce rates are high.
Huh.
That's because, they don't know what they're getting into.
Right.
They don't know how to deal with it. They, their egos are at large, obviously. So, मैं right who, he's wrong, just understanding that space of, self-awareness is really, really not, spoken about, or it is not even sort of, it's not, for the lack of words, I'm going to just say that uh, it is not explored.
Let's steer it now to the business side.
Absolutely.
Because I would definitely like to know more when it comes to a business model which is being led for women by women.
Yeah.
Because most of the cases that I have seen and I have studied, right? First thing when it comes to startups, okay? Whenever we start up something as a women, although there are many schemes, there this, then that, and this fund and that fund, but when it comes to real funding of a woman-led entrepreneur startup, most of the time I have seen that the funds either they'll be allocated low
Yeah.
or the person will have to struggle to get
Yeah.
the funds in, because even the data in India in the past 3 years, it has clearly shown that only 1% women startup gets funded, okay, with the funding comparison of a male owned
Yeah.
startup, right? So do you also feel that this particular differentiation when it comes to funding or when it comes to the startup world really exists till date?
Absolutely. So I haven't really deep dived into, beyond the seed funding. But I would definitely like to say that from all the people that I've spoken to, with respect to funds or even my mentors, when I started telling them about this idea, before I even hosted my first pilot project, they were like, this seems like more like a lifestyle service, industry, that you're not serious about it. And that mojo was really broken down, that oh okay, ek retreat karke आइए, फिर we'll see, we'll sit down and we'll see on the paper, how that projection really shows up. But I know that this is the need of the hour, right? Marriages are failing, and how? Right? So obviously, as much as you have an aspirational wedding, the marriages are failing. There is a very large gap that we need to fill, per se. And back in 23, when I even formulated this IP and I got it patented, I thought that I was ahead in time, because also to let industry people know about it, also to invite the target audience, right, to tell a bride that hey, come for an intimacy session with us.
Right.
There's hesitance there also, right? So we are also still building awareness, but we know that this is going to be a bridal revolution of sorts. In fact, I'm not aware if you even know about it. There's another giant who's come in, and who's creating their own versions of bridal retreats, which is actually the brand ambassador is Karan Johar.
Okay.
Okay, and obviously they're cash rich. They're going to do it in a different way. But the idea to say is that I'm glad that they, now I know that there is a definite, we would see progress in this, because there is someone else who's also stepping into this industry in this way. For me, my idea is, like I told you, is very soul led. It's very, very purpose led, that I want to touch as many brides' lives that I can, whether that is through tech, whether that is through online, offline retreats, whatever that may be.
Right.
But I am excited that, we've been a part of pioneering something revolutionary in this space.
Right. Yeah, because most of the time, what I have seen happening is it's very easy for people to give in for tech startups.
Yes.
Right. Okay, it's very easy for people to give in for something called as AI or something
Yeah,
called as
absolutely.
fintech, or like food and beverage
Absolutely.
services, right? So it's very easy to go and invest into these models because they are pre-existing in the market,
Exactly.
and it's easier for the investors to study these markets and then dive into a decision.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to the counseling spaces,
Yeah.
okay, when it comes to something that is connected to more of your heart and soul as a human,
Yeah.
right? Those businesses do have potential,
Yeah.
but then at the same time, they're not seeing the same uh, comparatives as compared to a tech business or a service based business
I
in
agree.
F&B.
That's because we haven't really supported that space yet.
Right.
As much as AI has come in,
Hmm.
maybe having an AI based relationship tracker, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I heard of it.
yeah,
Right,
you
there
know,
are apps that are really
absolutely.
tracking your mood swings
Yeah,
and when what you should talk to your partner and whatnot.
yeah. We
I
have
mean,
period trackers. So,
yeah.
we have relationship trackers
Hmm.
and, we have different markers for it.
That's right. So when although like we see it as a model which is still evolving and still growing
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
the market. At the same time, when it comes to enhancing this model and making it better, right? With businesses, the right team is very important.
Yes.
Yeah, and when it comes to a business model which is so emotionally attached to someone's living,
Yeah.
right? What do you think is the challenge to get the right team in your business?
Oh my God. A is that person has to be supremely passionate about weddings.
Hmm.
Okay, has to be supremely passionate about client servicing, right? Being empathetic, wanting to make new connections, wanting to make a difference in somebody's life, right? Like today, if I'm talking to a bride, at the end of the day, my concern, as much as what she's shopping, would be how I regulated her nervous system.
Hmm.
That, is she feeling good after going back home? After spending that day with me, or is she still on that, hyper zone, where she's hyper activated, that ye nahi mila, wo nahi mila, whatever. So my
That's right.
idea is actually to, also find a team which is as passionate and compassionate,
Hmm.
about the purpose that I'm driving.
Right, right. Somewhere I also feel that the team also has to be empathetic with your clients.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
because most of the time it just happens that most of the team failures that I have seen happening in
Client
businesses
servicing.
is like, yeah, if
Yeah.
you're not able to serve your client right,
Yeah.
right, you're not able to communicate with them,
Yeah.
or you're having communication barriers, or
Yeah.
you take it very technically kind of stuff.
Wedding
Right.
and fashion space is more emotions, less technical. It's
Hmm.
more about connecting with your clients, because if you've seen how the wedding planners work, right, they are doing this over weekends.
Hmm.
They are doing the regular, the clients are on their regular businesses. So in that course of 6, 8, 10 months that they are associating with them, they're literally going down to their home, having chai together, and then creating that project, that okay, ठीक है, ये setup करेंगे, वो करेंगे, ये vendor है, वो vendor है. But the idea is more to make them feel at home at their home with
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
Like if you're sitting together, you want to feel like this is the best person, this is my new favorite person.
Right.
So that's the idea, and that's how I would want my team to be connecting with these girls.
Right.
You should feel
Also,
like you've just met your new best friend.
also you feel that, having said that, we just said a few minutes back that, like, the decision makers have shifted from parents to the brides and
Yes.
grooms directly, right?
Yes.
But then at the same time, when it comes to decision making of the wedding grandeur, okay,
Yeah.
definitely you involve your family around,
Absolutely.
right? But when
Absolutely.
it comes to decision making of falling into a program like this, okay, which you are trying to design,
Yes.
yeah, which you have designed it so well, where you talk about
Yeah.
finances, where you talk about post marriage, pre marriage, where you talk about your intimacy problems, where you talk about a lot of relationship handling problems, right? Whenever we are talking about these, how easy it is or how hard it is to actually make brides believe that they need this concept in their life.
I don't think I need to make them believe it. They know that they need this. They're just looking for an outlet which is out there for them to, sort of deep dive into, right? Just as much as there are bachelorette parties, okay, I want to go and I want to take a break with my friends. Come to this retreat, because you can come with your bridesmaids, you can sit here and you can do the same thing, but while you're chilling and while you're also, unwinding and letting your hair down, you're being in that pause and reflect manner state. we are also giving you a space where you can talk to an industry expert. So they do know that they require this. They independently are finding spaces where they can unwind, and this is what the retreat is all about.
Right. So we are trying to build this space technologically, right? Where we are saying that okay, there should be technological advancements where we can connect to people, but then there is also emotional setting involved in this business
Absolutely.
model, right? So how do we hit the balance, right? Where we said okay, the tech should enhance the experiences, but at the same time, the emotional connect should be maintained. How do you ensure that?
A is, having these industry experts merge with us on that tech platform where we do give out resources. We do give them a chance to connect with these. We have recommended industry experts who they can connect with. Obviously, the idea at Here Comes the Bride, as much as it is tech or AI enhancement, it is more about human connections.
Huh. That's right. So then, but then don't you feel that those human connections could be built right when it's much more physical than being much more digital?
Absolutely, that's why the retreats, right?
Okay.
So the retreats, spaces where it's not only just the connection, also experiential. You go to a place outside the city when you take the bride, from her home or from her environment, and put her into a space which is more, nature oriented, which is more experiential. Where she can do grounding. There are sound baths. It is more about as much as human connection, her connecting with herself, which is why the physical retreats.
Right. Okay. So I guess we are going in the right balance. manner kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
That's nice. That's nice. Because most of the time, what I have seen with some of the tech founders or some,
Yes.
founders when it comes to the spaces, sometimes either you go a lot tech, and then you miss
Yeah.
on the emotional or the experiential side of these factors. And sometimes you're so much on the emotional side that you don't want to build the tech side.
No,
Right.
there
So I'm
has
happy
to-
that there is a good balance when it comes to Here
Yes.
Comes the Bride. That's nice. So, but then when it comes to women entrepreneurs, okay, you have been venturing out with your venture from past so many years. I have been doing this. Okay, so how much sometimes is it frustrating to be a woman entrepreneur as such?
No.
Ah.
Honestly, no. I'm
No.
loving it.
Yeah.
Because I feel it is letting me, through me, I'm able to also meet amazing women entrepreneurs like yourself. There's so many that I've met in the last 2 years, and I don't see it as a challenge, honestly.
Right. But then, what is that one spark? Because, like, I have talked to so many entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, every entrepreneur has the way of living their entrepreneurial life.
Yeah.
Right. For some of them, it's very cool, calm, playful because they come from a background where this has been already happening.
Yeah.
Right. For some of them, it's a totally new background.
Yeah.
Or it's a totally new foreground that they're building for themselves. It's
Absolutely.
not even a background for them.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is it that keeps you motivated when you are working in your venture? You said you're not frustrated, so you're happy about whatever you're building.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But then definitely there are points when you should have faced challenges in building this whole venture out, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. There would have been points where you felt like, okay, is this right? Or like,
Yeah.
am I building this right?
Yeah.
Right. So how do you come out of those things?
Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit about that journey, right?
Yeah.
So I started working on this in 21, right after COVID, when I thought that, okay, I wanted to do something just being beyond being just a stylist and a consultant. I wanted to make something where, I am bringing out something revolutionary. I started talking about my plan. I started writing it down. Being a first mover in any industry also puts you in questions. There are pains that you go through because you're not what the vision that you've set for yourself, it's not for everyone to understand because they're not seeing it played out yet, right? So I did face the challenge of getting rejections or people telling me that, oh, this is not going to work. I don't know how you're going to pull it off. I don't see. I mean, ठीक कर लो time pass के लिए, but try करो, see how it moves. So it's also the pressure of letting people know that something like this is not available and can exist just for that idea to take seed, right? And eventually I did go on to do, I was like, okay, fine, if I'm not getting help from the industry, I'm going to do it on my own. Did go out and set up the first pilot project in which we had 36 brides coming to that space, to the retreat. We got amazing collaborators on board. So there are two parts of it. It's not like just that, there's a space where you don't get the people to sort of, you find like-minded people on your path, and that's when you just know that, okay, you are doing this right. And when someone, imitates you, or, takes an inspiration from you, and, sets up their own thing, you know that, okay, you're already on the right track. So
Right.
honestly, I think I'm in my own lane. I'm enjoying this. And for me, this entire idea of Here Comes the Bride, its own entity, as much as, of course, I'm the face and the founder of it, I feel like it's here to stay, it's here to grow, and we'll just try and make it into something phenomenal.
Do you also feel that scaling down such a venture is somewhat difficult?
It's difficult, it's not impossible.
Hmm.
But I think in that difficulty, you just find the right people. I mean, honestly, I'm a super optimistic person, so so
Right.
so I just know that there's this gap that is here. I mean, you've seen so many VCs now funding tech-based ideas, startups, etc.
Right.
Right? Where we are going a step ahead, not only involving tech, but connection, but human connections.
Hmm.
The space is here to stay.
Hmm.
As many as wellness retreats you see, as many as these communities that you see.
Hmm.
So I think it's here to stay.
That's nice. So, do we also are planning some international retreats or something?
Oh, absolutely. So our plan is to go international. We are possibly looking at doing closer destinations, connecting with the wedding industry over there. Probably taking more NRI brides, right?
Hmm.
We have a lot of brides, Indian brides who are settled globally. I know the challenges are the same in every marital home, whether you're an Indian household, even staying abroad. I do see that happening.
Right. So, although this event space is all kind of a group activity or community based activity, right? But then at the same time, everyone wants to take something personalized when they go back from these events, right?
Yeah.
How do you ensure that although being a group event, it turns out to be a personalized experiences for people?
Absolutely. So, what we do within the retreat, or within the frame of the retreat that we have, we do have certain experiential connects. Say suppose one of my bride wants to have maybe a one-on-one chat with our intimacy expert, or she wants to talk to the financial advisor who's present at our fireside chat. We do arrange those exclusive dine outs, or maybe she wants to take an experience around the location that we've curated. Maybe she wants to go out with a few of her friends and make that evening her special evening. We also cater to all of that. So I see that there's a lot that we can do in terms of giving her a personalized experience.
So it's a mix kind of.
It's a mix
It's
kind
a
of a
bunch.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell my brides that this space is not a corporate conclave. If you want to attend a masterclass that resonates with you, please do. If you do not want to, that's fine. If you want to network with somebody, with other brides, it's not like to your neck that, okay, you have to dress up pretty, and you have to come out of your room wearing certain kinds of clothes, and then network with them. No, come in your pajamas, sit. The idea for me is for you to literally sit down with me and reflect, talk, communicate, just like how you would maybe with your friend.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to curating the experiences,
Yeah.
okay, there are people who are hesitant creating experiences even for themselves.
Yeah.
Forget about for others.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you break this down for them? Because whenever we talk about like whatever industry is it, client experiences form a major factor when it comes
Yeah.
to selling the service right or making them satisfied of what they are buying.
Yeah.
Right. How do you ensure that they are able to create what you want them to create?
So, A is our retreat experiences don't start at the retreat. They start a long way before. We get them into groups. We have these online sessions. I in fact talk to them personally one on one while I still can. I've opened up a window every week to connect with a bride, for 30 minutes to understand her pain points and what she would like to sort of see at the retreat. Of course, if it pans out, we do ensure that that happens for us. Just simply put, there was a bride who came for our retreat last year, the first retreat, and she wanted to pick up from a particular place. We made sure that that happened for her. So it's the kind of experiences that you can personalize. Of course, certain are general in the retreat space, but if we can go ahead and do something for her, we're very happy to extend that. In fact, a simple thing like reading out a note from her fiance, at the retreat, making some personalized gestures like that. Right, it just makes all the difference.
That's nice. So moving on to the funding side, okay,
Yeah.
where most of us feel that fundings are normally taken up when the investor sees the business as a scalable business, right?
Yeah.
And in most of the lifestyle-based businesses, like as you mentioned, like when you start pitching, people are like, it seems to be more kind of a lifestyle business. It could be a hobby business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How difficult it is for you to convince to someone to invest into your business, or like how do you make it possible and assure them that this is beyond a lifestyle business?
So, I feel whether it's tech, whether it's human connections, or whether it's a lifestyle based, like you said, product or service, all in all, I feel the funders themselves, they know, the potential of this. And like I mentioned, that if another giant is coming in and doing this, which actually puts us in the right path. So it's just about aligning with the people who feel this. I'm not looking out to go and, literally. There are going to be people who are going to tell me no. There are going to be people who are interested in it, but maybe want to wait it out. That okay, let it grow on its own, and let's see how it sort of moves forward. So for me, all in all, it's just a wait game. But if somebody's watching, please come and fund.
That's nice. That's nice. So someone who would like to go into a lifestyle business, but then it is a scalable lifestyle business.
Yes,
then I think,
absolutely, it is.
Ekta is the right one to go to, right? Yeah, because somewhere there is also a resistance, right,
Yes.
of changing the traditional mindsets. That is
Exactly.
something that I feel,
Yeah.
right? Okay, because most of the time, whether it be business or not, but it all starts from changing the mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So the business that you are in right now, okay, it is the base of changing the mindset.
I would call it disruption.
Yeah. So whether it be funding, non-funding, bootstrapped, or maybe like when it comes to handling brides, when it comes to handling their families, right?
Yeah.
We're literally breaking down a lot of traditional norms that were prior existing,
Absolutely.
right? Like
Yeah. We're
I have
just
seen
giving them a way
families-
to normalize certain conversations. We are giving them a space to normalize and move forward. वो पहले चलता था, अब नहीं चलता है. So how do you facilitate? How do you move in progression with that, right?
Right.
The one of the reasons why you see failed marriages is also the transition is not, uh, you know, is not facilitated. This is why you're seeing, as many failed marriages.
Right.
So, what we're trying to do is create a space where we are able to facilitate this change, where we are able to tell them that, okay, yes, you're going through this, sit down, reflect over it, talk with us, come together, open up conversations, share stories. That's how you move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So as you said, like you're trying to be a disruptor and you're trying to break the norms
Yes.
that are normally existing, right? What is the bigger picture of this venture? Like if this becomes successful, okay, what is the bigger vision that you have to change something in the society or like in someone's lives? How do we actually see this in the years down the line?
It's not if, it's when. Okay, this is definitely happening. And if I'm able to make one successful marriage at a time, where I'm building a conscious bride, where she is responsible for how she's feeling, how she's talking, how she's behaving, uh, that is a good enough change for me.
Right. So it's all about human transition.
It is. It absolutely is. And it's about facilitating and being there for her.
Hmm. That's right. So what's that one thing that you feel every bride should know before their wedding day?
That it's not going to stay the same way forever.
That's a hard
It's
truth.
it is a bomber, but that is the truth of life. That marriage is actually supposed to be a vehicle which you both are moving together, right? This is what my parents used to tell me, that it's think of it as a train on a track, and you're the different wheels to it, right?
Right.
So you are running parallel, you have your own paths, but you're also keeping that body of that vehicle together, and that's what it is all about. And it's about understanding, being curious about your partner, because marriage is a journey with your partner. It's not even about yourself,
Right.
right? So it's about how involved you are with your own change and your partner's change. He's also evolving, so how you're keeping up with it.
Right, right. So thank you so much, Ekta, for sharing so many things, because I believe this conversation has gone deep down somewhere, talking about a lot of things that normally people don't talk about when it comes to wedding.
Yeah.
Because most of the times we've seen the wedding jewelry, the wedding caterers, the
The
wedding
lehenga.
event, the lehenga, the groom's dress, the bride's dress, the color codes, right? I mean, the whole of wedding scenario is moving around colors and fabrication and food and music and all of that, right? But no one is talking about that life.
Yeah.
Okay, that moments.
Yeah.
Right, that soul.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for bringing in these topics, because I believe, yes, businesses do exist when it also talks about human life.
Yes.
Right, it's not just about money, but it's
Yeah.
about sometimes more about the transitions that we require in our life.
Yeah.
And if a business model is enhancing that, I feel these are the new age business models that somewhere we need, apart from being tech friendly and, like, apart from running behind AI or techs. So thank you so much for bringing this idea in front of us through this podcast. But definitely we have a short rapid fire round with you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is the favorite part with all
Okay.
of our guests, because we really would like to deep dive quickly into various aspects of how you are and who you are. Okay, so are
Okay.
we ready for it?
Yeah,
Yeah?
right.
Thank you so much. So one word to describe the Indian wedding industry.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Extravagant.
Okay. Premarital counseling should be a luxury, or is it a necessity?
It's a necessity, hands down.
That's it. Biggest myth about marriage today.
It's forever.
Your biggest entrepreneurial challenge that you have.
I don't know. Maybe just the best part of it.
Okay. What do you feel that, like, going bootstrapping is much more better, or investor funding?
Both have their exciting phases. I am bootstrapped, but I aspire to be funded.
That's nice. One piece of advice for your younger self.
I wish I had this retreat for myself, and I think this is why I'm doing it.
Wow. The future of Here Comes the Bride in one sentence, if you would like to give.
Oh, it's a space which is going to change a lot of brides' lives. I think it's a space which is going to revolutionize the bridal industry.
Right. One thing that you love to see in each bride.
A smile.
I
Just
wanted
ha-
that answer.
Just a smile.
Yeah, that's nice. That's so simple, right? But
Yeah,
that's
it's so
deep.
simple. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it takes so much for that bride to smile.
Right. To come out of that mind space and
Just
then
should-
just
yeah.
give that natural
Yeah.
smile. Thank you so much, Ekta, for being here. It's
Thank
been
you.
lovely hosting you. And we talked about so many things. We dived deep into how this particular trend is working, the shosha of weddings,
Oh, yeah.
and then how we need to literally off track from the shosha of weddings and actually talk about what's practically going to happen in your lives, right?
Yeah.
How brides and grooms need to be more careful about what they're choosing.
Exactly.
Because somewhere I believe that the journey should be planned to make your life better.
Yeah.
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 And these plannings are when they are co-created with
Yeah.
with the spouse and the lady. I
Yeah.
mean, with the gentleman and the lady, right? That becomes kind of more productive for the person to live, because this is something that also comes from my personal experiences, right?
Yeah.
There was a phase in my marriage which was unplanned.
Yeah.
Okay. And now there is a phase in my marriage which is like where, like, every action that we take is properly planned.
Yeah.
And we both literally know what we are doing.
Yeah.
Right? What we have observed in the first 5 years of a marriage and what comes down to us in the next 5 years of a marriage is totally different in this 10-year journey.
Yeah.
Right. So to everyone who's watching this podcast, yes, definitely the concept of planning your life, whether it be marriage, post marriage, whether it be being a mom, being a father, be, prior to being a mom and a father, post being a mom and a father, if you plan, you can co-create your lives together. And families and spouses, your children, everyone can be a part of this big plan rather than you running the plan alone. So for me, it has been practically there. So I know how this concept works and it really, really helps. Right? With you, we have got a second evidence of telling us that yes, it is possible and how you can make
Yeah.
it possible. So thank you for adding this layer into our audience's perception of living their own lives or perception of living their wedding days or their marriage life, right? So thank you so much for being here and sharing. But then, what could be that one deep advice that you can still give to the brides to be? What you would like to say?
So, there are two is smile. Okay. And I feel be curious. Be curious about everything, be curious about why you're doing this, why you're selecting that lehenga. People really need to step out and chart their own love stories, then be inspired and, take a Pinterest inspiration or, take a celebrity inspiration, so to say. I feel the idea is to put, life in your own love story and translate that into your weddings. That would stay with you for a very long time instead of, you see these lehenga dupes and, you see people copying, other people that, oh, she walked this way in her
Yeah,
wedding
the-
and I will walk this way.
Kiara
No,
style.
exactly. You make your own style and, you be, the star of your life and of your marriage. And that's what I would say. I would say be original.
That's nice. That's an amazing advice. Thank you so much, Ekta, for being there and
Thank you.
adding value. To
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi, so much.
Thank you so much for everyone who's watching this episode. We are promising to bring in more aspiring entrepreneurs to you, to bring in more successful entrepreneurs just to you through this podcast, helping you understand how entrepreneurial lives do vary. What are the differences that we see? What are the challenges that we see as an entrepreneur? How you yourself can make it big as an entrepreneur. So keep watching. Do share this episode with anyone that you feel is going to be the bride to be in the future. That's for now. I'll see you in another episode of Satyamantan.